Take one.
Take one.
All right. So we got a couple of options here. Nice.
I've really been looking forward to chatting with you. I think since we met, like realizing how much we have in common, and like you moving to Arizona from the going after the California dream. Is that fair? Is that where you started?
Absolutely.
Trying to be an actor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me, bro.
Of course.
Appreciate you.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to this conversation too. Yeah, no, I moved out here in like the end of 2020. So, as we know,
The world changed.
definitely, right? I mean, there's so many levels, and it's just getting like more and more as each year, goes by. But yeah, so I was in San Diego at the time. So I was kind of going back and forth to Los Angeles, and still had representation there in San Diego also. And just with seeing the lay of the land, so to speak, it was just time for me to
Do something different.
do something different.
Yeah.
So when I moved out here, I was willing to give up this whole acting dream.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
I love that you call it a dream, because I always say, I don't think it's about, as an actor, we set a goal for ourselves. And we think, if I achieve this goal, then I'm an actor. And then what happens is we achieve a little part of it. And then we're like, okay, now if I achieve this goal, I'm an actor.
yeah.
But really, the dream is the pursuit, being able to pursue it, whether or not you even just achieve a part of it. And then the fact that you can have some wins along the way, that really is what it means to be a working actor. Maybe not a celebrity, but that's very different than being a working actor. Those are two different things that I think people get lost in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm not even sure if I was even like the working actor.
But that's pursuing it.
But had some,
staying with
some
it.
wins along the way.
Yeah. A couple wins.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm very grateful for it all, and still am. No, it's amazing. It's great.
So when you came here, then it was kind of like when you submitted to the agency looking for, just what opportunities might be available, starting obviously in a new state.
Yeah.
And, kind of a side hustle. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely a side hustle. Yeah. Just, like hobby, right? Just yeah.
I think you're extra special to me as a talent, because I've had you on my sets, and like obviously starting as a voice actor, having a big run, and then building my own small production company when I was starting out, making a spec spot or two and connecting with you and you being part of it, that meant so much to me, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
It's what I needed, and what I loved, the first moment I worked with you is I'm like, Ryan's a real actor. Like, people don't understand it. I'm not saying that commercial actors aren't real actors, but like, I can explain a moment to you. You understand that moment has an arc, a beginning, a middle, and end, and you create something organic and new each time. And that's something people don't know. They have to kind of come into their own and have those years of experience, and having you on set, and then later, almost I feel like being able to repay you by booking you on some better jobs that I was working on. It got to come full circle, and then seeing you create in those moments again was magical for me. So
wow, well, thank you, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. No, it was no, it's fun. I mean, it's like you said, commercial acting is definitely different than say like real like theater or
TV film. Yeah.
And then having the chance to work with you with, being more of a host and a presenter, it was definitely a skill.
That's different too, right?
That was something that was definitely not, I was having nightmares. I was like tripping out, PTSD. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Dustin's calling me. I'm like, no.
You did a great job.
Yeah, speaking directly to camera is unique, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this, like, I'm just connected with you.
Absolutely.
So, something artificial and connected to the camera is definitely something entirely different, but it's all skill building, and I love it. It's great. Yeah.
I'd love to touch base about where you come from as an actor, because like I said, you're able to understand how to create these moments. And, making this podcast, obviously we're sharing people's experiences, but also, talking about the artistry, which I feel is often overlooked.
Yeah.
We get caught in the business of entertainment, and without the art of entertainment, we have nothing.
Yeah.
Where did you first learn about how to approach things more organically?
That's a great question, man. So I look at it from, like, through my acting coaches over the years, I look at it more from like a psychology standpoint, right? Like, going after objectives of like trying to get something from the other. And then also applying, I guess, your own like substitutions, of course, using all the typical lingo of acting class and whatnot.
Well, would you say you were taught actions like I want to X?
I want to get something from you rather than trying to like get an emotion, like trying to like elicit emotion from me,
of course,
right?
of course.
Because, when we actually really in real life, we're trying to get something from
each other.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Everything is just like almost like a contract, right? We're just trying to get something.
Of course.
So really that took years to try to like finally like hammer in and really develop and to know and understand exactly like, okay, cool. Like I'm not trying to be sad here. I'm really trying to get something, and maybe I might be sad through it, but it's a lot more interesting watching someone try to like, even if
the struggle of it.
Yeah.
And I like to play what I call the opposing force, which is almost the opposite. Instead of playing the want, you're playing against something. So it's like they think I'm weak. If I imagine we're having a conversation, you think I'm weak, and I'm simply playing, I'm not weak.
Right.
I can really identify with that, and it's very simple. It's these tools that we use to focus on other things other than how to say the line, how to feel, where you can get caught.
Yeah.
So you're saying playing the intention, playing the action, playing what you want is your base.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just really, of course, starting with just like understanding your lines as well, because then that's where like flow starts coming in, right?
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
trying to memorize lines and
that's the hardest. That's the hardest.
It's hard to get those actions.
I know.
So
if you don't know the lines, like that's the core.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. But the psychology of it all is also really unique and different, right? Because that's kind of what I'm doing now. I'm doing like sales, but I'm also doing coaching and building up my coaching business. So that kind of goes hand in hand with creating impact. And then also understanding why I choose to do things. And then from a character standpoint, you're like, okay, so, not judging him.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, this is what he's about. Because if you're playing a character of someone who's like a bad guy, it's not going to be realistic. But we watch obviously amazing episodic television, and you watch them because you're like, in essence, these guys are like evil. And we're still enthralled by watching them because there's like humanity in there, because they're ultimately trying to get something there's a commonality of pain. Like they're trying to get something that is really, truly relatable as the audience are watching, right? So even though, they're doing these heinous things, for example, or then we're like, we still relate to it.
Jack Nicholson used to always, when asked about how he approached characters, he said, I try to identify with what the person likes about themselves.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about all of the roles he's ever played, there's something really likable about Jack.
Yeah.
And he focused on that as the base. So it's interesting that just
Absolutely. But it's also personality too, right?
Yeah.
Because you watch a Jack Nicholson film because you like Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, he's Jack.
Exactly. And then there's like very few rare like character actors that are famous, but they are still, what is it, Daniel
Day-Lewis?
Day-Lewis, right? Like, of course, he's, he still has like an essence of him.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like he does play a great character, but he still is Daniel Day-Lewis.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Last of the Mohicans, There Will Be Blood. You can see the through line. There's but it's that intensity. I feel he's very connected to the animal.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, especially if you're trying to be a theatrical or dramatic actor.
Yeah.
You take a silverback gorilla, you put it in the zoo, and you film it, and you want to watch it. Like and it's because they're so alive, they're so present.
Yeah, you said animal is like primal, right? Like
yes.
These primal needs that we as humans just want, right? So, no, for sure. So tapping into that is relatable too. So yeah,
and it's so like being obviously in a commercial market. A lot of times I don't get to discuss that, but like I feel like that's my roots because that's what I went to study. And I left home as at a young age and moving to New York to be a real, whatever that means, a real actor. You get older and you go, a real actor means you work, right. I guess. And it doesn't always call for that depth, but having an eye and a taste for the depth, I think makes you a more credible commercial actor. And I think people can take that for granted. they'll say, put some smile into it. And yeah, that's true. But, when you have an actor and then they also put smile into it, it's a very different read.
Yeah, I would agree. You definitely, and it's, yeah, I mean, I would say you would know more than I, but there's definitely factors in it, right? Like it's, I don't know exactly what I'm saying, but there's commercial acting, and then there's definitely theater acting, and then there's definitely film and television. But if you can offer all three.
Do you think of it as different? That's a great conversation.
Yeah, do I think it's different? I do. I think there's, I do. It's all still authentic. Like you still have to be real.
Yeah.
But I would say maybe commercial acting is a little bit more, like you need to know immediately, like where this
a little more heightened.
Yes. Yeah. Where like, film and television, you have a little bit of time to be the mysterious dude or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? In theaters, it's its own unique beast as well. But I think, and that's what we're looking for always, I would say, behind the lens, right? You're always looking for that depth.
Right.
So if you can already have the depth there, then you can go surface. But if you're already surface, then it's hard to.
I think a lot of that relates to great casting. And that's why I admire casting directors, the great ones, they understand like this is the right role for this person. And it's not the best role for this other person. I mean, you take someone that has a lot of subtext and you make them the pizza delivery guy. Sometimes you think, wait, do they have a gun in the pizza box? Like there's something else going on there.
Yeah.
And that might not be the right casting. Whereas if you sometimes you want that depth because it's Breaking Bad, and you want the guy that shows up with the pizza box to feel like maybe he's not the pizza delivery. So I think being sensitive to the craft and understanding ourselves is so important. But I also think learning our casting and positioning ourselves in roles that we can be successful in is even more important.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good acting is good casting. No
absolutely.
About it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people, they take it for granted.
Yeah.
And like, I know when I started out, I thought, I can do everything. And then like, I kept constantly getting cast. I look at my first guest star on television was, and we're going back now, Law and Order, when Jerry Orbach was on it.
Okay.
And, Dirty Dancing, the dad in Dirty Dancing. Yeah. And Jesse, who was in Rent on Broadway. And like, I was this young guy who slept with my high school teacher. And she shows up dead in the back of a trunk. And, I can't remember if my character could drive the car yet. It wasn't my car. But like, I went in playing it like I did it. But I didn't do it.
Right.
And that was just like, I remember the cast member saying to me, and I can't remember her name at this time, this is in New York, and she's like, everyone else played it like they didn't do it. But when you read for it, you played it like, oh, I killed her. And which I thought was so interesting because I told everyone in the breakdown that you didn't do it. And it's like, but that kind of depth and that layering then followed me in my 20s with different roles that I worked on, you know what I mean? And like always kind of a little bit of the bad guy.
Right.
I'm like, am I a bad guy? I don't know,
Yeah.
But like, there is that. I feel like with you on set, seeing you now that I'm on the other side of the lens and helping from an artist development side at the agency, like, I think that you have a warmth and a compassion that certain commercial actors don't have. And so it's like, that's what I when I talk casting, and as an agency, we have to think about it because when casting reaches out, they say, well, who do you recommend and why?
Right.
And you have to see that subtext inside people.
Yeah.
And you've got that warmth, man. You always bring something more.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
I love it.
And like, and what you were saying, I mean, it's impeccable, right? It's imperative rather to bring something new, right? Because if casting directors are going to be there, all day long, 8 hours a day to witness, a bunch of actors rolling through, and if they're all sort of saying, reading the lines in a similar way, but what stood out for you was like doing something different, and they're like, hey, it's actually kind of fun. I didn't actually think of it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's cool. It's almost like a puzzle, right? But you're open to it. Like you're open to, it's malleable, it's not fixed necessarily.
Yeah.
And so like I think great directors are able to be like, actually, you know what, that actually works better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's also so important in the entertainment community that we have all walks of life.
Yeah.
all walks of life and beliefs and people coming together. Like I always say, Hollywood, we used to just all be the rebels.
Yeah.
People that had feelings and they wanted to put them someplace. And I honor and stand behind that, you know what I mean? And it's cool. It's cool to sit down and talk to you. I know you and I could go on. I want you to come back in for another episode, you know.
No, thanks for having me.
You know, Leighton Agency, you know, we're here to serve the talent. And it's a pleasure to serve you, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.